Hello everybody, come on in, have a seat, let's talk, let's have a tale. Let's go back in time to 1982-83, to a time when Rush had not long since released their Signals album, and Giz and I were chatting in the schoolyard. So we must have been teenagers, mid-teens, maybe early teens. And it was me, Giz, a lad called Steve Jones. And we were chatting about the upcoming weekend's events. And we were talking to Steve. And Steve said, I'd probably just do some ratting. Okay. Me and gets his ears pricked up and said, how do you mean? He says, well, I usually get down to the Midden, which is an area of his dad's, well, whoever's farm it was he lived on. I don't know if it was his dad, his uncle, his friend, I don't know. Right at the far side, across all the fields, pasture and all that, there was an area where the farmers used to dump a load of muck and rubbish, all the detritus of farm life, you know. And he used to be quite popular with the old rats, so he used to pop himself down there, set himself up with a hide, go ratting, bagging a few rats with this ridiculous air rifle he'd got. So, me and Giz were having a chat with him, and he says, why don't you come down? Now, because this farm was enormous and it was right at the back end of Timperley and it bordered Wythenshawe and Manchester Airport and Bowden, and it was huge, it was massive. And it was right out of the way. It would be a place where you wouldn't just normally pop down to. It was a case of having to get your parents to give you a quick lift down there because it was a few miles out. So on this particular occasion, Steve Jones invited us down with him to go ratting. And so I think my dad gave us a lift down in the car. But well, anyway, that's by the by. We got down to the farm and we got out, and my dad went off in his merry way. We went in to see Steve, and Steve came out, and of course he had all his camo gear on. You know, he was the outdoor man type. I think I had an old Italian army jacket on, a bit of green, and Giz was there in this bright yellow bloody Adidas football top come t-shirt thing. So anyhow, Steve immediately ribbed him for being inconspicuous, considering we were going ratting. And we got invited round to his little light shed in the back of the house where he kept all his goodies. And he rigged us out with me and Giz, we were given a couple of cheap air rifles called BSA Meteors, very, very basic, bottom of the line stuff. And anyway, they gave us a handful of 2.2 pellets each, and we put them in our pocket. And he got all his clobber on, and he had his hat and his camo jacket, and he slung his fancy German hunter killer air rifle that was good, you know, proper big telescopic sight on it, you know, the business. That was his thing, you see, out in the bottom. And we set off across these fields, and it was a good walk by our standards at the time. And of course, me and Giz were arsing about with these air rifles. Every time we came past a fresh cow pat, you'd shoot into the cow pat and splash up all the shit. Whoever had the most spots of shit on the face would lose. And yeah, this sent Steve mad. He thought we were bleeding. What are you doing, dicking about with air rifles, you pair of dicks? And of course, we were laughing and joking and having a laugh as we were walking across these fields. And then, as we were, one field was like a field of pasture, and then there was a border fence, a barbed wire border fence, where the next field was like a cereal crop. I don't know if it was hay, barley, whatever it was. It was the long grass stuff, you know. And we were walking just on the other side of the fence in the pasture, so we were out in the open. There was this field of cereal crop, whatever it was, and in the distance, on the far side of this field, was a wood. Now, this wood bordered the farm with this bloody housing estate, a rough-arse housing estate called Wythenshawe. And for the people who lived in Timperley, Broadheath and Hale, Wythenshawe was the Moss Isley of the area. It was the dogs walk around in twos, you know. It was always considered to be dog-arse rough. And in this field, there was a gang of lads playing. I say playing, piss-arsing about, as they were. Anyhow, we were walking along in single file. And all of a sudden, we heard this. And me and Giz looked at each other and said, what the bloody hell was that? And Again. Oh, shit, what the hell's that? Turned around looking for Steve. Couldn't see him anywhere. Of course, he'd gone to the ground. He'd hit the deck straight away because he was immediately aware that these bastards in this field, over in the woodland, had air rifles and were shooting at us. So me and Giz hit the deck straight away. And Steve said, well, shoot them back. Let them know we've got bloody rifles ourselves. Shoot them back and let them know that, it'll give us a chance to fuck off, like. So we were hiding in this field. We hit the deck and we were hiding in this field and we could hear this. And what that was the pellets coming down through the cereal crop. And we're going, fucking hell. And Steve's there, crouched down with his big bloody air rifle, returning air rifle fire. And me and Giz, they're going, fuck, what do we do? What do we do with this? And Giz gives it, fuck this, I'm going home. I'm going, of course, bright yellow. So he stands up to go home. And all of a sudden it's whoosh, whack, like this. And he clutches his chest and he goes over backwards. Ah! And he goes, I've been shot. And he's like this, looking for blood. I've been shot. And then he says this marvellous line that'll never be forgotten in history. He goes, they've shot me in me tit. I've been shot in me tit. We get up, put a couple more rounds down, and we fuck off toot sweet. Chased down the field by this sound of, because obviously they didn't stop, they didn't give a shit because they were rough-ass bastards from Withenshaw, Anyhow, we legged it all the way back to Steve Jones' house. Oh my God, we were knackered when we got back. Anyhow, Giz took off this bright yellow top he had on, and he has this big red thing right next to his nipple. He looked like Scaramanga. And it was all like going purple and blue. Oh, he said, I was shot in the tit. I've been shot in the tit. Anyway, sufficing to say, we didn't go ratting that day, and we just sort of stayed in Steve's back garden and shot a few bottles and cans off the fence. But that's the tale of the Clay Farm gunfight. I mean, I should have really given it a soundtrack, shouldn't I? Hey, I mean, you could. Oh God in heaven, that was so funny. Yeah. This is us lying in the field. And that's the tale of the Clay Lane Farm gunfight. Me and Giz, never forget that. That was a shot in the tit. That was absolutely priceless. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that story, and I hope it made you smile, because it certainly makes me smile when I think back about that. And there you go. Look after yourself, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Haha, yeah. So, yeah, the story about the when he got shot. Well, we're all arsing about on this farm with air rifles. And all of a sudden we're walking through these fields and we could hear this bang. And I could see in the distance these lads were firing at us. Now, I had a bright yellow t-shirt on, an Adidas thing. And so I stuck out like a sore thumb. All of a sudden, one passed me here, and then also back. Ow! I went, I've been shot. And I started rolling around on the floor in agony, expecting loads of blood. Well, there wasn't any, but it was a bit of a shock, to be honest. I was about 15 years old. So, but Bob and Steve Jones, they were just on the floor laughing their heads off. Because I was obviously a prime target because I had my yellow t-shirt on. I just went home and thought, this is madness. And he was still shooting at me then. Bastard. As we were talking about air rifles and all that nonsense and fireworks. Yeah, I remember years ago I used to drink in this pub called the Moss Trooper, and Bob did as well. And I was in there, and this lad come up to me. He says, "You're Colin Stevens, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." "You play guitar?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You shot me?" I said, "You what?" He said, "You shot me up the arse." And I went, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Don't you remember about 6 or 7 years ago, you were sat playing your guitar on your windowsill, and some lads messing around in your front garden, and we all lit these firecrackers or rockets or whatever in your front garden?" And I went, "Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that." He says, "Yeah." He says, "We absolutely shit ourselves." He said, "You came out the front door with that air rifle in your hand." I said, "Oh, right, hold on a minute. This is all coming back." He says, "Yeah." He said, "We ran like mad down the road." He says, "You got me up my arse, up the arse, and you got me mate in the leg." And I'm thinking, "Oh yeah, I think I remember that." So, yeah, these lads who were arsing around, and I want having that. I just grabbed my air rifle, a couple of pellets, and had a telescopic sight on it, and it wasn't the dark at all. And they legged it down the road, and flipping it, I got 2 of them. But can you imagine if I did that now? Can you imagine it? I'd be in prison, wouldn't I? I'd be behind bars for about 10 years. What's going on? What were we like? Absolute nutters. Anyway, I said, I said, "Sorry, mate." I says, "Do you want what are you drinking?" I bought him a pint. So hopefully that, that made him feel better. But what a nutter. What a nutter.